bite-sized interview vlog featuring the movers and shakers of the Yorkshire writing scene. And today I shall be having a piece of cake with Sarah Dixon, up-and-coming local writer and active member of the York Writers Group. Hello Sarah, and what cake have you gone for?
I went for the shortbread cups, which had a passion fruit custard.
Very good choice. We'll wait and see what you made of them at the end. But first of all, there is time for a very brief session of quick-fire surprise questions.
Okay.
And it's going to be a this or that style of questioning. Are you ready?
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Film or TV?
Film.
Board games or Xbox?
Board games.
Eurovision or The Voice?
The Voice.
Really?
Yeah.
Fame or fortune?
Fortune.
Why not? Pen or PC? Bungee jump or poolside seat?
Poolside seat.
Star Trek or Doctor Who?
Doctor Who.
That wasn't a difficult one, was it? Facebook or Twitter?
Slider versus the Shapeshifter is the first book in the series. It's all about a schoolboy, Alfie Slider, who's about 10 years old, and one day he's late home from school and he finds a key.
A key.
He doesn't know what it's for, but it has a really strange effect on him. He wants to keep it safe, he doesn't want anybody else to have it, it's his key.
Yeah.
When he starts to examine it, he soon realises it has properties that aren't explainable. He's a bit of a science whiz, is Alfie, so he does some tests on it and realises it's literally out of this world. There's something out of this world about this key, but still doesn't know what it does. And then his little sister gives him an idea to just try poking it into a hole in a fence.
Why not?
Why not, yeah. So he looks into the hole in the fence and he sees there's like a shimmering golden area.
Oh, yeah.
And he thinks if that was a video game, that would be like a secret level. So he puts the key starts vibrating, he puts the key in, and he is transported to a parallel universe.
Could we maybe hear a little bit of it?
Yes. Okay, so this is a section of Alfie Slider from chapter 3. Alfie has found this special key that makes him feel very protective, and it's very unusual, and so he goes up to his bedroom and does some tests on it to try and find out what it is, and he looks at it under a microscope and realises that it doesn't have any reflections, and this is his reaction to that moment. Throwing the key down on the bed, Alfie stuffed his hands under his armpits. He didn't want to hold it anymore. How was that possible? Alfie knew how reflections worked, and he knew that you were supposed to see what was around you, only back to front. Upside down sometimes too, like in spoons and spheres, but you should definitely see something. If you couldn't, wasn't that against the laws of physics?
Where that name Alfie Slider came from, because it seems a good name to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. I think I knew he was Alfie before I knew he was Alfie Slider. And my husband and I used to have a running joke. There are these people who believe that they have the power over electricity, so they think as they approach traffic lights they change because they have some kind of power, or street lights will go on, and they're called sliders. And so my husband and I used to always have a joke for if we came to a traffic light and it changed, we'd go, oh, we're sliders. And so I think it probably came from that, just like being kind of a cool thing, and Alfie Slider sounds really cool.
It does, and it's got a bit of a music to it, hasn't it, that name? So, in the book, Alfie Slider's mum is a little bit of a geek, a bit of a sci-fi geek. Would you say that there is any relationship between that character and yourself at all?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, I am an immense sci-fi geek myself, but I hadn't intended her to be a sci-fi geek. I intended her to be sort of an archetypal mother, a very nurturing mother. But then I realised Alfie's going to need somebody to talk to about some of this stuff to understand it. And it came about, there was one scene quite early on where he's talking about how he's transported from this dimension into another parallel universe. And he talks to his mum about it, because she knows sci-fi, she can say, well, in Star Trek they do it like this, and it gives a way to Alfie to get some kind of explanation of these things that are actually really difficult science.
I was interested, your first memory really of a book that really captured you, perhaps as a child.
When I was about 9 or 10, I discovered the Narnia books, the C.S. Lewis Narnia books, and that was, I don't think I discovered like fantasy in that respect before, and I loved that whole notion of going to a different world and being somebody completely, but then you can come back to your life and continue to live.
Yeah. How many books is that?
6 or 7?
And did you manage to read all of those books? Did you read them more than once?
Yeah. I still do sometimes. I still read them now as an adult. I go back and read them again.
By the way, when you read The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, did you have a look for Narnia at the back of the wardrobe?
Of course, yeah.
Was it there?
No.
Oh, shame. It can be writers or anybody, but who inspires you?
In terms of actual writers, I really enjoyed recently a book by an author called John Mayhew. He's written a book called Mortlock, which is a kind of Victorian. I don't know how to describe it. It's not quite horror, but it's not quite fantasy. It's great. It's fantastic. You should read it. Mortlock, John Mayhew, absolutely fantastic book. And so I aspire to his standard of writing.
What is it about his writing then that you particularly engage with? Why do you feel that he is a great writer?
From the first page, you wanted to read and to find out what happened next. And I read a quote from John Mayhew in the Children's Writers and Artists Yearbook, and he said to the effect of every page, I'm trying to keep the children reading and off the Xbox.
Did you try Alfie out on anybody who might go onto an Xbox if you weren't careful?
Yeah, to my own son.
And did they?
No, he loved it.
So can you describe for us your process for writing, right from the very outset of an idea to the finished article on the page?
Yeah, like when I get an idea, it's normally prompted by something I'll see or something I'll hear about, and like a little niggle will start in my head, like that could be an idea, and then it hangs around for a while usually, and sort of sits on it for a while, and then maybe more thoughts are attached to it, and it gets bigger and bigger and takes up more and more of my time until it does feel like a pressure builds in my head. It's like, this story is now ready.
It gains critical mass.
Yes, yeah. And depending what it is, I mean, if it's a short story, that can be it can be instant. From, I get the idea, no, I need to write this now.
Right. Once you've got that moment of, now I'm going to write, what comes next?
I will draw a timeline, or do some brainstorming of like what's the worst possible thing that could happen in these circumstances, and draw out a plot. And then I've got probably a 1-page plot, and then that goes into the book. I'll work out roughly how many chapters for each idea, and then I go. I have a little team of Alpha Slider beta readers who are about 5 or 6 of them now, who are between 8 and 12.
Did you say beta readers?
Or beta, yes.
Can you explain what that is? 'Cause I've never heard of that.
It's a bit like in the software industry, you have a beta tester who tests software for you just when it's almost ready, but not, beta readers. They read it just before it goes to the public. So yeah, I have a little team of those who are fantastic, and they're just so enthusiastic, and it's brilliant. The best compliment you can have, my best Alpha Slider moment was in my son's playground, and a child who had finished Alpha Slider, he read it in 3 days, and he came running over to me and he went, Sarah, and I was like, what? Alpha Slider is jaw-dropping, and he ran off again. I was like,
is that going to be on the back of the book?
I hope so, yeah.
At the start of the book, Alfie finds a magical key.
Yep.
And this is something that can open a portal into a parallel universe and to a spaceship. And you do reference Gollum and the ring at the start of the book as well. And I wondered whether you had any thoughts on why writers are so drawn to magical artifacts and objects in books like these.
I think they're a really great device for taking your reader into a story, because finding a key is something we can all identify with. We've probably all walked along and seen the key or something that somebody's dropped. But then once you've found this thing, it seems like a normal thing, it takes you into a big adventure. I wanted to have a story story about a child from a normal background. Because quite often in children's fiction, the children are somehow excluded from their family, and that's why they have to do things by themselves. So they might be adopted, or going away to stay with an aunt or something like that. And I wanted to have an adventure that happened within a very normal family environment. But I really like the fact that Alfie has this home and this sort of safe environment that he can go back to, no matter what dangers he might face out there. He can always come back.
I wondered if you wanted to just tease a little bit with the weapon that Alfie uses to defeat the baddie in this book, without giving too much away.
Without giving too much away, Alfie sets a trap, and he, on board the ship, there are 2 crates of cargo on board the ship that he can use to set a trap. When he doesn't know what it is, nobody knows what's in one of the crates, and the other crate contains 3 frogs, and these are alien frogs. And when they eat a certain substance, it has an effect on them, which is quite humorous, and can be used as a weapon.
Face for the tape now. Quite traditional. A traditional story that perhaps I could have come across when I was a kid as well. You don't seem to be hung up on the technology that we have today. Obviously children's lives have altered slightly, and I wondered whether that was something you did on purpose.
Yeah, and I did kind of want to give it almost a timeless feel, because as soon as you do start referencing modern day technology, it goes out of date. So if I've given Alfie a phone and then next week some kind of different phone technology comes out, then you've dated your book immediately. But that mostly that's just how it came out, and it was only when I finished it I thought, I suppose a 10 or 11-year-old kid might have a phone now. So I think probably in book 3 he's going to go to secondary school, so he may get a phone at that point, and obviously it may have some modifications done to it, so we might get a bit more technology in that way.
So given that perhaps this is more of a timeless style of writing, do you think that means that there is a common thread that runs through childhood?
I think certainly for this age group, for children that are sort of 8 to 11, they're just at that point where they're not babies anymore. They're expected to take on responsibility, and they want to take on responsibility, and they know enough about the world now to make their own choices. Historically, children at that age would have been going to work, but now in our society they don't. They go to school, and so kind of, in some ways, I think our society disempowers children and says, you have to go to school, you have to do what you're told, you need a grown-up with you at all times. And yet if you look back at some of those stories, those classic children's stories, the children are on their own. The children that go to Narnia become the kings and queens. The children that go up a faraway tree, there's no grown-up there to help them, they have to guide their way through it themselves. And so that's kind of the common thread, is that this is a child who, he lives in this time frame, but he has to make his own decisions, he has to be independent, he has to make his own way in the world.
You are keen on science fiction. I wondered how important genuine science knowledge is to science fiction writing.
I think it gives, for me anyway, it gives me ideas. So every time there's a new breakthrough, that then sparks a whole new, what if? Because science fiction is basically, you're asking yourself, what if this happens in the future? And so every time there's a new breakthrough, it does just give you a whole new raft of so you could do that now. So that's good. Personally speaking, I don't understand physics. It's the one subject I failed at school. I cannot understand physics.
Is that why you make your own physics up?
Yeah, so I make my own physics up, and I'm probably horrified with people that actually know their stuff. I quite enjoy that. I think it's the little rebel in me likes to make it up. So here we have it.
Yeah.
See the beauty of the shortbread cup.
Yeah. So, what's the verdict?
It's really nice.
Bye-bye.